we basically are trying to help carriers and MGAs and to a degree now wholesalers better interact with their retail agent partners.
We're at a point where agencies have to recognize technology is a team member in your organization, period. And I get it. It's weird to think about an intangible thing as being a member of your team, but the reality is, it is.
We don't charge agencies anything to use our platform right now. And I think even in the future, and we are starting to do this very soon. Maybe by the time this is live, we'll start onboarding like actual customers that are agencies we're bringing on outside of users onboarding through an MGA or a carrier.
The agents that need to be concerned are the ones that are just simply pushing paper.
When the renewal comes up in a year for us, when we try to increase price or maybe do a bit more work with them, helping that business leader, the P&L owner, understand, like, we saved you 1,000 hours, right?
I'm a big proponent of total cost of risk. When I go in and I talk about a deal, yes, we're going to tell you about premiums and everything else, but the reality is, in our average engagement, we are not even in a position to go to market to get insurance coverages quoted before we're hired.
The agencies that are applying new technology, experimenting, figuring out how to optimize processes right now, those are probably going to be the winners, 5 to 10 years from now. That's my assumption. People who know better, that are setting up insurance payment systems in the space and charging 3.5%, and it's, in my mind, it's just complete rent-seeking because it shouldn't be that expensive. There's no finance fraud. There's plenty of insurance fraud in space, but there's no payments fraud in the insurance space, or very little.
Agents feel like they have to spin or massage what's really going on in a company to get an underwriter look at it, and here's my weekly news flash. The underwriter already knows what's going on in the account. They just want to see if you're going to tell them or not.
Insurance, at the end of the day, the back office is really two buckets of things. It's all the compliance related work that you have to do with all of your stakeholders, and it's all the finance stuff, right? Insurance is just money moving hands at the end of the day. It's a promise to pay somebody in the future for something bad happening.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. We have talked about ESOP. We have talked about, God, I don't even remember. It's one of those days, man. I'm trying to remember. We've had two really good podcasts. ChatGPT. Holy cow. We had Kerry Weston on. He blew my mind so much I didn't even remember it. But talking about how agencies can optimize their workflows and processes and marketing in the correct way to use ChatGPT. Great episode when it drops. And now we're going to talk with Douglas Mulm from Turris, which is a company that we're going to figure out what they do, because he's explained it to me, but I'm not going to try and do it in a quick intro. It's going to take us a little while to unfold that. So welcome, Douglas. How you doing? Or Doug? I asked you, and I still went back to like I'm your grandmother calling you.
All good. Table. Miss my Grammy, so it makes good fond memories. David, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So really quickly, why don't you give everybody kind of the overview as to kind of who you are, and then we'll get started.
Yeah. So my background, quick. Former attorney in the insurance space, worked for one of the Marsh McLennan companies about, I guess over a decade ago now. All these data breaches were happening at the time, and I said, this is enough of a 400 or 500 page data security addendum. Went over across the office, started talking to the fine reinsurance folks that we had. Insurtech was popping up at the time as a distribution mechanism, so ended up launching an MGA, solving for some commercial auto problems that I saw kind of in the new mobility space. And that's what's led me to what I'm working on now, Turris. So I exited out of that about 2 years ago. And Turris is solving a lot of the back office problems that I had internally, trying to build my MGA, trying to have a lean team. We sold through independent agents, primarily through some wholesale partners as well. But I was not one of the Insurtech folks that thought agents were going to disappear. I leaned in to agents, educating my client base for us, our policyholders. We were competing with Progressive and Geico, big names, and the correct way to get policies out was finding the agents that were selling those policies, and we did it a little bit differently, and we thought a little bit better. Not going to the policyholders directly, not trying to get direct sales on your platform. That's a loser's game in my mind. But yeah, that's Turris now is working with MGAs and carriers, again, solving a lot of the problems I saw internally, trying to build my own MGA in a lean way.
I know how hard it is to build a scratch agency, man. I couldn't imagine building an MGA. That has got to be, that does not sound like a fun time for me at all.
There's you're dealing with both the agency partners, trying to keep them happy, trying to convince them to take your call, and then you have all the capacity above you, and then all the legal requirements. So all the problems and regulation of running a carrier. None of the profits. Usually the losses flow down to you as well. The carrier, especially the fronts, they end up well at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So where do you want to start? I mean, you guys are doing some cool things now. I know that it's something that affects both agencies and wholesalers. How do you want to set the table for this thing?
Yeah, well, so maybe I can just talk about what we're doing and how that relates to agencies because
Sure.
our paying customers are not agencies, at least right now, nor do I think they ever should generate the majority of our revenue or even like a substantial minority. So we basically are trying to help carriers and MGAs and to a degree now wholesalers better interact with their retail agent partners. So how do we help them show that they are correctly licensed, that they have the correct E&O and the correct cyber when they add a new agent partner on their sales force, that it's not a long operations onboarding process, a lot of emails back and forth, phone calls, sharing PDFs, going to Nipper, and trying to prove that they are correctly licensed. It's just a few mouse clicks and an addition of an NPN number. So really, I mean, my goal is by saving operations time on the MGA and the carrier side, that saves a lot of time on the agency side. And hopefully it's a win-win for, their distribution partners, makes it easier for them to work with from a carrier perspective. And then hopefully as an agency, you never hear that excuse of, it's just too expensive to appoint you. All right. Unless you're writing seven figures of business and you can prove it, we're not going to spend the time onboarding you. Now that the operations excuse is gone, so if a carrier says that, you as an agency can go and say, "Listen, that excuse is done. Why don't you want to work with me? Tell me the honest truth."
Yeah, or if it's valid, you can say you need to call Doug because he solved this problem a
Yeah,
little while ago. Why aren't you using them now?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's really how we're trying to help in the space. I think the longer term view that we have is. And again, this is my belief, especially on the ENS side, but I think just across the insurance space in the U.S., agents will become ever more important. I don't see that going away, specifically in commercial. I think what's the figure? Around 90% or so of insurance is distributed by retail agents right now on the commercial side. I think it's roughly 60% overall of all premium, so commercial and personal combined. I think that number will keep going up. We're seeing really interesting products launched by not only new MGAs, but carriers are getting in the game as well and kind of eating other parts of their business up. And that takes a lot of education to go to that policyholder and explain to them why they need this specific policy instead of the one, from competitor X down the road. Agents are primed to do that. They know their business. I mean, thinking about you and all of the customers that you work with, you talk to them often, and you're out with them, you're doing things, you understand more about them than I think a carrier or paper ever could. And so that's who we need to be leaning on for distribution, and if we can make that easier from a carrier and MGA's perspective, that's really my goal.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, to your point, yes, we're out talking to these people, we're out visiting their operations, we're getting involved with what they do to really understand, at a different level how what makes their company tick, right? And I think that the agents that need to be concerned are the ones that are just simply pushing paper. You're going out, you're getting applications filled out, you're getting quotes, and then you're hoping that the underwriter gives you a result that somebody's going to buy based on price. I've been saying it for years, man. That's a fool's errand. And if that's what you're doing, yeah, you could make good money, but I can show you a much better way to make a lot more. And the agents that are taking that kind of older school approach where it's just a simple insurance transaction, those are the people that are going to get replaced by Insurtech, because Insurtech makes the transaction much smoother and painless to the end user. And so if all it ever is a transaction, we're going to go to where the less friction is. And that's going to be going direct to consumer or whatever else. And certainly in small commercial where it's much more price sensitive, not that price isn't a factor in every decision, but far more price sensitive in small business, far more transactional, less loyalty, more internet driven because they're just going to Google when they need insurance to figure out who shows up. Middle market's not that way unless you're not doing your job in the middle market. And, the more you can be a specialist, the more that you can focus, the more that you can go in. And I mean, always have been for 20 years, I'm a big proponent of total cost of risk. When I go in and I talk about a deal, yes, we're going to tell you about premiums and everything else, but the reality is in our average engagement, we are not even in a position to go to market to get insurance coverages quoted before we're hired. I'm either going to represent you or I'm not, but I'm going to come in and look at what are your policies, processes, and procedures that are in place. What's the story that your loss runs are really telling me? And does that match with what you say that you're executing right now? Where are your soft costs? Where's the money that's leaking out of your financials every single month? Where are you aware of all of the losses you're actually retaining, or do you have an unhealthy amount of passive retained loss? I mean, if agents would focus on that stuff, you're always going to get the best result when you go to market because you have a much better narrative. You demonstrate that you understand the opportunity. And I think the other thing that's really important is I think agents feel like they have to spin or massage what's really going on in a company to get an underwriter look at it. And here's my weekly news flash. The underwriter already knows what's going on in the account. They just want to see if you're going to tell them or not. So tell them and then show them what your plan is to fix it. And if you have incremental progress between the time you engage and the time you go to market, document that too. But I mean, that's one of the things that we've done to even take it a step further is I do a bunch of video submissions at this point. Like I don't want to tell an underwriter what we're doing. I want to show them what we're doing. I don't want to tell them about the account. I want to show it to them. Now I'll take them out to the account if they want to go look at it and they want to do, client visits and all of that. But if you can't do that, there's a lot of power in video because that way you can, here's a date and time stamp that shows you exactly what the manufacturing floor looked like. Here it is 30 days later. Here it is 90 days later. Look at all the progress we've made on housekeeping and everything else. Yeah. That's a big deal. And it's something that a lot of agents don't do. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they're not comfortable, that in their mind, they don't know everything that they need to know about how that company operates. Well, how the heck do you expect to learn if you don't walk around and ask questions and let these people educate you? That's how you learn. Yeah. Over time, that ends up being a little easier to do and that stuff accumulates. But to your point, if you're going about your business the right way, you can't replace that. Tech is not going to replace that. Tech will actually make that a better experience for the client than if you're not using tech. And that's something else, we joked about it a little bit before I hit the button to record, but I even put it out yesterday, just a quick post on LinkedIn. We're at a point where agencies have to recognize technology as a team member in your organization, period. And I get it. It's weird to think about an intangible thing as being a member of your team, but the reality is it is. And what I don't understand about my peer group, and I'm not asking for your opinion because I don't want to put you in the hot seat, but what I don't understand about my peer group is why they don't look at it that way. We're so afraid to invest money in technology and in things that will make the overall client experience better and the agency run more efficiently that we end up just in this death spiral where it's business the way that it's always been done. And as much as I like to think I'm on the forefront of pushing the envelope with a lot of the things we do, I'm in such the minority that it's no wonder that the industry is highly regarded is very slow to adapt and change to technological trends. A lot of the things that have been happening for decades still haven't even made their way into the insurance industry yet.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is there's still a lot of money being made. I mean, what we're joking about is there's no money to spend on technology. Your return was like there is, there's just no willingness to spend on that.
Yeah,
So
agents are cheap, man. Y'all need to get off the wallet. Like you
yeah.
want to do these things, but you don't want to pay to do these things.
Well, I mean, there's people like you. There's definitely new entrants, whatever you want to call them, digital plays. I think that's from a distribution or like what people thought Insurtech 1.0 was, carriers and MGAs replacing the agency. I think it's now the agency saying, I can do this in a better way. I can do this in a cheaper cost structure, or I can focus, right? The video example, or you had mentioned ChatGPT earlier, and the guest you had on before. It's not even an Insurtech thing, I think. It's just agencies figuring out how to lower their cost structure in the same way I, as a startup right now, this is my second startup. I did the Insurtech MGA. Our team was 4 times bigger. We probably burned to get to the point that we are now, 5 to 6 times as much money. We are able to build things much cheaper. Agencies, I think, are experimenting. The good ones are experimenting with all of the tech that's out there and available. It's not InsurTech tech. It's just tech, right? It's ChatGPT, it's Claude, it's better run CRMs, and you're able to do things at a much lower cost point than you ever could before. And I think you are going to see this all of a sudden. It's going to change very quickly. Right? It's like the Blockbuster Netflix thing, where like nobody thought that Blockbuster would go away, and then all of a sudden it was gone. It's just like, a year later, just decimated. I think you could see the same thing. There's so much money in insurance, so maybe you don't see it quite as quickly. But the agencies that are applying new technology, experimenting, figuring out how to optimize processes right now, those are probably going to be the winners, 5 to 10 years from now. I mean, that's my assumption.
Yeah, no, I would agree too. And I mean, it would be interesting to see what the actual statistic is for the ROI on making an investment in tech today versus where you're going to be 5 years from now. Because I think that's the other part too. I think a lot of people look at our industry and think, oh my gosh, there's just new insurtech and all this stuff coming out at such a rapid pace. When the reality is it's still so far behind trend with the general, business world at large that I don't think the agents are ready to know what that really looks like. But I do think it would be beneficial if there was even a way to do it, to put together something that said $1 spend it in these types of tech today is going to be worth this many dollars down the road. Because I mean, even with when I'm talking to a client, for example, time value of money is an important thing. And that's another thing agents aren't going to talk to them about. But I mean, even if we get into something around the experience mod, there was an account that I called on several years back that didn't have a return to work program in, and they weren't getting the benefit of the 70% reduction on a medical only claim inside the split point when it's reported to NCCI for mod purposes as a result of that. And it wasn't a huge account. The workers' comp was maybe about 50,000, 45 or $50,000 a year. So it was nice, but it wasn't like this massive juggernaut. And I sat with the business administrator, and everything I said was pushback. Well, my agent didn't tell me that. Well, I don't think that's right. Well, I'm like, you know what? I finally said, and this was the church that I grew up in. They were behind on budget, and the only reason I was having this conversation is one of my best friends was chairman of the finance committee, and he asked me to go in and look at the program to find out where they could maybe have some efficiencies. Started at the comp because the mod was a 1.44. Everything I said was an argument. So I finally looked at the lady and I said, you know what? I said, I decided about 20 minutes ago, you're never going to be my client. So let's talk in a different tone now, because I am still a member of the church and I'm a little bit concerned about how the church is handling the tithe that's put in. So I'd like to ask you, why do you think this isn't going to work? Well, my agent has said, I understand that, but there's a lot of agents that don't think the way that I do, which is why I've had some level of success and why I was asked to be here today. And I never could get her to understand the math of how it worked. And I said, well, listen, I said, that's fine. I said, I'll tell you what you've done is you showed me the credit terms you're willing to operate under. You've told me that instead of you paying $650 today to keep that indemnity from happening and getting people back to work, having them on payroll, that you're okay with paying $22,000 over the next 3 years because that's how the numbers work.
Mhm.
I said, so what I want to know from you is screw the insurance piece. I'd make way more money if I just loaned you money. So for every
Right.
650, if you're going to pay me 22,000 back over the next 3 years, I'll give you as many $650 loans as you want. I just need to know how much money I'm taking out of the bank when I go in 10 minutes and I'll be back and
Right.
we can sign the paperwork. But people don't think that way. They look at what does it cost now or how much is it really that much effort for us to maintain doing the things that we're doing versus maybe having to do a little bit more work for the short term to implement something, but then operate at least 50% or greater more efficiency down the road. The industry just doesn't think that way. And that's scary
Yeah.
to me because it explains exactly why we lag behind so many other industries in terms of how we push tech.
It can be hard. I mean, I think I don't know how an agency, can do that. You had an approach and it still wasn't quite getting through. Maybe, I mean, I think the credit lending is an interesting one, so they can actually realize the cost of that. I think what we've tried to do, and maybe on two fronts. One is communicate to our customers and to our users. So our customers, our MGAs and carriers, our users, for the most part. I mean, we have way more agency users than internal MGA or carrier customers because their sales forces are their agencies, right? There's just more of them. But we try to communicate what what they're doing, right? How many interactions did you have with our platform, and what did that result to in cost savings? So it's mostly like self-preservation. So when the renewal comes up in a year for us, when we try to increase price or maybe do a bit more work with them, helping that business leader, the P&L owner, understand like we saved you 1,000 hours, right? And I charged you X last year and we saved you that 1,000 hours. This is what I'm trying to do this year. So I don't know what the corollary is, maybe from the agency side, like how to show that in a report or a way, I guess, a way to do it efficiently. I'm not sure if there is one. But it is, I think, incumbent, at least I'll speak as the software provider here. Can we show what kind of time savings or using us, this is how quickly we were able to pay off that whatever the cost you thought was, like the actual cost, the learning curve. And then once you can get past that learning curve part, right now you're on easy street, right? You're reaping all of these benefits from that, but it is getting through that chunk that I think is difficult to figure out how to do that. Like, how do you explain that? I think everybody's a little bit different on how they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing from what you guys are doing now is making it easier for the agencies to do business with the various MGAs and wholesalers too, right? Because one of the things I think we talked about was licensing and some of those other
Mhm.
things that end up being hiccups. You remove the friction out of that process and allow agencies to be able to seamlessly write more business, more places. That helps everybody.
I mean, that's the goal for us, and it's a as I noted, like we don't charge agencies anything to use our platform right now, and I think even in the future, and we are starting to do this very soon. Maybe by the time this is live, we'll start onboarding like actual customers that are agencies we're bringing on outside of users onboarding through an MGA or a carrier. But even then, it'll be very transactional in nature, where we when you need us, we will charge you when you need that additional license. And I think this is where we've seen it happen. An agency will log on to the platform, or will log on to their underwriting platform for their carrier or the MGA. They're trying to write a piece of business. Maybe they had a California license, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, for one piece of business they wrote. It expired. They didn't realize that. They're trying to do another piece of business, or it's just a new state, and they realize they aren't licensed there. We send them a notification, and in about 45 states, we can get that agency and the individual agent licensed in less than a half a day. So they
Wow.
just like click a button, and then so they can still write that policy in the same day. Whereas right now, a lot of agencies are having to, go to their attorney or go to Circon or go to Nipper, go wherever, and provide a bunch of information that that they should already have, right? We already have all that internal information to get them licensed. There's a few states where you have to answer an additional question, and then there's random states that are difficult. No offense against Florida, but that is one where it's just a little bit more difficult to get licensed. There's some things you need to do that you can't automate, and we're trying to work around those just with some agentic AI stuff. But even then, there still will be humans in the loop, I think, a lot of times. But yeah, can we make it easy for that agency to now be able to sell that carrier's policy? And so I think for those things, we're going to start charging agencies to do that. Not a lot, but just saying, hey, like we're letting you write this piece of business that probably would have taken you a week to write, and we're going to let you do it today. And not only that, can we help you see all of your agents now? I think Bradley from Portal is I think a friend of the show, or you guys know each other. I see you
Oh,
guys
yeah, he's
interacting a lot.
yeah, he's a very good friend.
Yeah, I mean, he actually helped us kind of think through this, whether he knows it or not, almost like a year and a half ago, because it was very driven on the MGA carrier side. Like, what does the MGA or the carrier need for us to get them on as a customer? And he reached out at one point and said, "Hey, like, let me give you my perspective, right? Let me tell you, like, from an agency side, I think he had just bought his second agency. I think maybe they're on their third now, but they just, were trying to like take in this new agency, so they doubled their producer size."
Yeah,
And
don't
he's like,
sleep on Bradley Flowers, people.
no, man,
He's growing when you're not looking.
yeah, he's gonna be national soon. Portal will, I'm sure of that. But he's like, I can't keep up with all of this, the licensing anymore. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and this is what I would pay, somebody to do this. And I think our response now to him can be, we're actually doing it much cheaper than you said you were willing to pay, because our goal is like, what else can we help you do? Like, now we have you, looking at licensing. Can we help you automate other parts of your business? Like haven't gone into this really, but like the long-term vision really for us is like automating as much of the insurance back office as possible. And so allowing both the carriers and the MGAs to build better relationships with their agencies, and the agencies in turn to build better relationships with policyholders. Insurance, at the end of the day, the back office is really two buckets of things. It's all the compliance related work that you have to do with all of your stakeholders, and it's all the finance stuff, right? Insurance is just money moving hands at the end of the day. It's a promise to pay somebody in the future for something bad happening. And so we see those things as combined. The workflows are interwoven. And so if you can kind of centralize the agency data, as far as an MGA or carrier is concerned, there's all these adjacent workflows that you can start to automate in the future. Things like payments, whether it's direct bill or agency bill, things like premium financing, paying commissions faster. One of our early concepts, and we haven't gotten there yet, but it was like agencies were asking, there's like, I sold this piece of business. I have 60 days until I get my commission. Can you help me smooth out my income? So interesting things like that I think we can start working on. But for now, it's really like, what can we do to automate operations and just make everybody's life a little bit easier?
Well, it's funny you said that too about the smoothing out the income piece, because I've talked with several people who are looking at putting together a solution that maybe takes a small piece of the overall revenue of the account, but to pay it up front, almost like a carrying cost on the capital. And that way, if you're in a agency that needs that money sooner to scale, you can get that injection, obviously at a cost, but it's a relatively safe financial risk for the person that's floating the money too, as long as you have all the controls and everything in place. Last thing you want's a massive chargeback in a situation like that. But I mean, I think that's an interesting concept and an idea. The majority of the carriers we work with now pay us our annual commission on the front end.
Yep.
For most cases anyhow, but there's still a few out there that are doing as earned. And if you're not used to that, and I mean, middle market specifically,
Yep.
if you have carriers that are paying you as earned as opposed to as written, and you need to put risk management budget in place, you're fronting that money and reimbursing yourself. And if you have somebody else that's willing to take a little bit of risk and you're okay taking somewhat of a haircut on your revenue, everybody wins in that scenario.
Yeah. Or even, it's funny, like going to the ENS side has historically been agency bill for a lot of different reasons, but one has been the cost of the payment infrastructure and not wanting to take that on. I think what we're seeing is, over time, my view on payments is they're commoditized. My pet peeve for the space is, and I get that, like, I love my agent. He does an amazing job. It's my former co-founder for my MGA. But he uses a service that charges me $15 for an ACH transaction. It's
Ugh.
once a year. I know I shouldn't be angry about it, but I'm like, what the hell, man? Like this, I know what this costs. I know it's not $15. And same on the credit card side. And there's just a lot of businesses that don't think about using a credit card. So I, if I get charged 3.5% to take a credit card, I'm using my bank. But I know like as we bring employees on, like that's less and less of a concern. They'll just put their credit card down at like 3.5%. That's not that much. On a
Yeah,
$10,000 insurance
that's exactly
transaction.
how they make so much money. It's
Yeah.
3.5%. Oh, that's not that much. But then a million people do it.
When
It's like the
so that
payroll
cost
companies. It's like the payroll companies that make all of the fractional interest for holding the money on the float from
three
the time they
days,
draft
right?
your account to the time they pay somebody else.
Yeah. Well, so I know because we've set up the infrastructure. I know what the actual cost that for the infrastructure is, and it's closer to like 2%. And so that money is going to the payment provider partners, and like some like I'll pick on Stripe because they're big and they're making a lot of money. And so Stripe sometimes makes sense, especially if you're small. It's easy to stand up, and from a developer's perspective, it's great. I will say there's been some, people who know better that are setting up insurance payment systems in the space and charging 3.5%. And it's in my mind, it's just complete rent seeking because it shouldn't be that expensive. There's no finance fraud. There's plenty of insurance fraud in space, but there's no payments fraud in the insurance space, or very little. It's not something that you can easily. It's a piece of paper, right? You're not getting anything in return for it. The chargeback's going to happen very quickly. You're going to get the money back. And so, yeah, my goal over time is like, can we layer in payment products that are lower cost and you can pass that cost on to your policyholders. And in a time like this, even if it's only like saving them 1%, probably is meaningful if the cost of insurance is just going up otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. What have we missed so far?
Well, probably just so we are. I think by the time this is live, we will have started working on with agencies on their own. And again, it's mostly a free product, right? You don't use it, you don't pay for it up front. I'll say that. It's really like, can we help you understand kind of your licensing picture today? Can we help you quickly license your agents for new states, your agency for new states? And can you tell us what else you want to what else you want to see? I guess, well, how can we make your life easier? Even today, we have agencies are not paying us, but they're big users. We get most of our requests from those users. Like it's not coming from the carriers or the MGAs. It's like, hey, if you could tell your customer that I'd like to, or you could help your customer do this, the MGA or the carrier, that would make our lives that much easier. So I love that feedback. Agencies are full of ideas and they definitely are willing to share them. And so my hope is that we can kind of continue that relationship and grow even further. I think one thing we're starting to poke around in is, can we help the better networks out there? I know there are some that aren't well regarded, but I think there's some that are doing really interesting things and making it a little bit easier and flexible for scratch owners, like getting up and going. We're starting to chat with some of them, and if there's interest there as well, happy to chat with all you folks.
Yeah, I would think that what you're doing would plug right into the aggregator model for sure. I mean, if you can do it with wholesalers, you should be able to do it with aggregators, right?
Yep. Yeah. So like I think the reason it came up, an aggregator or network reached out to us and said, hey, we have a purchasing group, right, for our E&O policies, because we basically automate the collection of those documents for carriers and MGAs. But like instead of you getting 15 or 20 emails over the course of the year from different markets that you work with for that that same E&O document, upload it once, right, with the tourist platform, we're able to like just distribute it out to all those different markets. So things like that they add up over time, right? You don't think
You know,
of
the
that
thing
as
that's crazy is, why doesn't this already exist? Like, and no offense to you at all, but why did you have to be the one who came and figured this out? Because the industry should have had something similar. I mean, if you look at NIPR and Circon and all of these places, they've got the data. They just don't necessarily have. They don't. I don't know what they do with it. Like,
yeah.
you
Well,
you know
so
you would
yeah,
think that
Nipra's a
if you uploaded
partner.
it in one place, it's it. It's like a general marketplace. Everybody can go get what they need, and it's over and done with. There's got to be money
Yeah.
somewhere changing hands.
I think with yeah, I'll pick on Circon a little bit just because they're well funded and PE back, so they're not going anywhere. But Nippers are all over. Like so, Nipper provides all the data. They interface with all the states. So Circon, is really using Nipper in the background. We're using Nipper in the background. I think Nipper's view is like we're a data aggregator. We made the connections with the states. You guys go figure out the rest of it. Circon, I think, is a different thing. Like, I don't know why. I have theories on companies that get bought by private equity, and what happens to innovation after that. I'll leave that off so I don't make too many people angry. But I think maybe that plays into it to a degree. But yeah, I mean, it should exist. The fact that it doesn't is too bad, but now it does. So
Yeah, because it's
good
almost
for
like
us, I
a
guess.
almost like a compliance hub where your E&O, your state licensing, like you can go to one place, manage all of that stuff in one spot, but your partners are able to do the same. To your point, man, my E&O renews August 4th. The number of emails that I get that we have to send our new deck page and all of this other stuff, and like most other agency principals, I probably ignore them until I get the third request,
Yeah.
It's just a lot, even though that's automated, it's taking up a lot of space in your inbox. It's just the process is way clunkier than what it needs to be. So that's awesome
Yeah, man,
to
we'll
think
get
of
you on
how
the
seamless it
platform.
can be.
It's like I said, it's free, so we'll get you on.
Let's
You
do
can
it.
say nice things about it if it works. And yeah, like I mean, you are the voice that I think you're the stereotypical agency voice, right? You're out there. Like we've never met before, but I see you on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you let people know what you want. And I think the agencies that do that, they're the ones
I
that
don't
get the
hold
things
very
that they
many
want.
secrets back, man.
No, you don't.
I'm direct. I'm either your flavor or I'm not. And I get that I'm not everybody's flavor, but what you see is what you get, and that's probably the biggest compliment I ever get when I travel somewhere is somebody says you're the same person you are online. Yeah, I'm not smart enough to be two people, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I quit worrying about the winning the popularity contest a long time ago. As long as the five people that I'm responsible for that live under my roof with me are happy with me, that's all I really am worried about. Anything else is a bonus. But
Yeah, man.
I wouldn't. Let me ask you this as we get ready to wrap up. How do you want people to reach out to you? Because there are a lot of people listening to this that probably have some opinions and some ideas. Many you've probably heard, some you may not have. I don't want to keep you from being able to continue to push the envelope with your product. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, email Douglas@turrisfy.com, TURRISFI.com. Feel free to reach out. You can go to our website, same domain. I'm on LinkedIn. Try to be active as much as I can on LinkedIn. You can poke holes in whatever I post on there as well. I love that. Yeah, those are probably the easiest ways, and I'm active on all, so I'll get back to you.
Good deal. Anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, man, just go. Agents, keep doing what you're doing. Like show all those VCs from 5 years ago how wrong they were on betting against you guys.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, look, man, I invest in Insurtech and some of these tech companies too. I get some opportunities. So I've had the pleasure of being able to be a seed stage investor, and I've had the heartache of being able to be a seed stage investor. It's hit or miss. But the thing is, we have the ability to be so much better than what we are. Before we go, you told me, but you didn't tell them where'd the name tourist come from? I just put it all together when I heard you spell it out and remembered that we had that conversation before. But talk about where you got your company name, and we'll wrap up with that.
Yeah, well, so I'll tell you, my former company was called Stable, and I thought that was a great name for insurance, MGA, stability. But what we found out very early on, people thought we were doing horse insurance, like barn insurance or ranch insurance, and it's a very common name, so it's like hard to get any SEO hits. And so when I was naming tourists, trying to figure out how to have it be relatable to the insurance industry, but still, something that might be memorable. I thought I just like started picking Latin words and found Turris, Latin word for tower, Lloyd's. Genesis of insurance was on Tower Street originally, where the coffee house was. I was like, kind of connected all the dots. I've never, I mean, we tell people that, but we haven't put a story together on it. But that's it. It's Latin for tower. tower was the street that Lloyd's was on, and that's our connection to
And see,
insurance
my
for the
thought
name.
process was everything is being built vertically integrated, so it's basically looking like a virtual tower because you have everybody getting all the information from the same spot.
I'm gonna take that as well. We can what's it called? Like memory hole it, right? We can change it change it
Yeah, go
after the
get it.
fact. Yeah.
You have free license on
Yeah.
recording, counselor. You're welcome to use it.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, listen, man, I appreciate the conversation today. It's been good getting to hear what's going on. People, I encourage you to reach out to Doug. You know, the only way that products get better is not by us bitching about them. It's like giving actual constructive
Bitch to me.
criticism and
Yeah,
and feedback so
yeah,
that they can make products better that actually do what we want them to do. So I would encourage you to reach out and do that. And if you're not on this platform, I would encourage you to figure out how to get on it as quick as you can, because that's going to do nothing except make the ladies in the office or whoever is running your back end that has to handle all of this compliance crap, because I know you delegate it to somebody else. They're going to love you that much more. And who doesn't want to get those hugs when you come into the office every week? So
that's right.
reach out to Doug. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next week. See ya.